The Orioles just got swept by the Twins. But don't worry, they traded for some pitching help. They got Luis Castillo from the Mariners, except it's not that Luis Castillo. We'll break down that move and another Orioles loss coming up on this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
You are Locked On Orioles, your daily Baltimore Orioles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Orioles fans. Today is Friday, May 9th, 2025, and welcome back into the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, Connor Newcomb. And coming up on today's episode, we're going to recap another Orioles loss, their fifth in a row as they fell 5-2 to the Minnesota Twins on Thursday afternoon and were swept in Minnesota in the three-game series at the start of what was supposed to be their easiest stretch of the season. Then we'll talk about the newest Oriole, Luis F. Castillo. He is a right-handed starting pitcher. They did get him from the Mariners, but it's not the Luis Castillo you're thinking of. We'll talk about how he could help the O's. And finally, a weekend preview, Orioles and Angels on the West Coast starting tonight. But that's all coming up on this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast, which is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Just head to amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. So we kick it off on a Friday episode with, unfortunately, another Orioles loss. Final score from the Twin Cities on Thursday afternoon is the Minnesota Twins 5 and the Orioles 2. As the Twins complete the three-game sweep over the O's, Baltimore has now lost 5 consecutive games, and the Orioles are a season-high 10 games under 500 at now 13-23 through 36 games this season. And I'm going to get you the 5 things you need to know from this Orioles loss on Thursday afternoon. The first thing you need to know is Dean Kramer was great again. I mean, this guy clearly just hates March and April. I think in 2026, the Orioles should just place Kramer on the IL for a month to begin the season, activate him on May 1st, and go from there. Because once he gets into May, once he gets past April, this guy's great. He's got a 6+ ERA in March and April, and his ERA is well under 4 in every other month of the season. It's absurd how it continues to happen, but Kramer was horrendous to begin this season. Then the calendar turns to May, and he throws 7 shutout innings against the Royals on May 2nd on Friday night, and then he takes the ball Thursday, getting pushed back a day after he got hit by a line drive in that last start, and he was almost as good in this one, giving the Orioles a really good chance to win this game and avoid the sweep in Minnesota. Kramer goes 7 strong innings, allowing just 2 runs on 3 hits. He strikes out 8, he walks 2. He did allow a home run on 86 pitches, and the Twins only got him for 5 hard hit balls in those 7 innings of work, and he did it a little bit of a different way. I mean, 2 straight starts of 7 innings pitched for Dean Kramer. That is the first time in his major league career. Kramer debuted in the shortened 2020 season, and this is the first time he's gone back-to-back starts of at least 7 innings. And he was great, but Friday against the Royals, it was all about pitching to contact, right? He only struck out 2 batters in those 7 scoreless innings. He got early outs. He had a low pitch count, only 82 pitches. He was pitching to contact. He got hit hard a little bit, don't get me wrong, but he got through it. This one was different. It was mostly soft contact. He hunted the strikeouts. He picked up 8 of them, a season high for Dean Kramer, and yet his pitch count was still low. He only threw 86 pitches to get through these 7 innings. It was one of the better starts we've seen from Dean Kramer in a long time. The last time he struck out at least 8 batters, you got to go back to July 3rd of last year against the Mariners, but he got the Ks and he was still efficient enough to get through those 7 innings. And it still wasn't a crazy amount of swing and miss. He got 10 whiffs, but he just pounded the strike zone. 58% in zone rate for Kramer on Thursday. His sinker velocity was up about a mile per hour. He was sitting more 94, 95 with that pitch, and he was just dotting that thing wherever he wanted. That pitch had almost a 75% in zone rate for him. It was his second most used pitch behind his cutter on Thursday. That was the best I've seen any single pitch look from Kramer this year, was the sinker on Thursday, getting the strikeouts, putting it on the corners. This is the Dean Kramer and somewhat the one we saw last Friday against Kansas City, but this one specifically, who can also hunt the strikeouts and give you 7 strong innings. Yeah, he's going to give up a solo homer like he did that tied the game at 2 from Trevor Larnach. Like, that's going to happen. He's going to give up home runs. He's done it his entire career. But he gave up a run in the first, and then he bared down and pitched 6 really, really strong innings. This is the kind of Dean Kramer who can, if the Orioles have a possibility to do this, help to turn this rotation around, which has been a bottom 3 rotation in baseball all year. If Dean's going to pitch like this, he can be the anchor. He can be this middle rotation guy who's 3 out of 4 times out there giving you strong starts, keeping you in baseball games. That's what you expect from Dean Kramer. Not whatever happened in April, but what is going on in the last 2 starts. That could be a huge positive moving forward for the Orioles. Now, the second thing you need to know from Thursday is that, unfortunately, while the starting pitching was good, the bullpen was not in this one. Kramer exits after 7 innings. It's a tied game at 2, and Yennier Cano takes over in the bottom of the 8th inning. You got some righties coming up. He's well rested, hadn't pitched since Sunday. You're trying to keep this game tied at 2 and get it to the top of the 9th inning. And instead, Cano enters and goes walk, strikeout, walk. Clearly did not have it at all. And Brandon Hyde, with the quick hook, didn't want to get it out of hand and takes him out of the game. Cano, after giving up 2 home runs in his last appearance against the Royals on Sunday, which was his first multi-home run appearance of his career. This was his first multi-walk appearance of the season. Last time he gave up 2 walks in a game was last September against the Yankees. And this was the first outing of his major league career since he debuted with the Twins in 2022, where he walked more than half the batters he faced. 2 out of 3 batters he faced were walks, and he was done. And Cano had been untouchable basically until Sunday, and then has just looked terrible in his last 2 outings, the 2 homers, and then the 2 walks, taking the loss in both of those games. And Gregory Soto came in for the matchups. He gets the strikeout on the lefty to make it 2 on, 2 out in a tie game, but then a 2-run double by Brooks Lee breaks it open, another RBI single, and all of a sudden 2-2 becomes 5-2 Twins in the bottom of the 8th. They got Joan Duran ready, and the game is just over. Just like that, the losing streak is at 5. And the bullpen, I've said it time and time again, right? Out of the 4 major parts of this team, starting pitching, bullpen, hitting, and defense, the bullpen, again, you can't really argue it. It's been the best of the 4 consistently all season. You could argue that because the starters have been so bad and the bullpen's been gone to time and time again, they're already starting to tire out in May. And it was another bad day for Soto and Cano. And on this 5-game losing streak, the 2 losses to the Royals, then the 3 losses to the Twins this week, the bullpen has been dreadful. In the 5-game losing streak, this Orioles bullpen has pitched 15 innings. They have allowed 18 earned runs on 26 hits. They do have 15 strikeouts to only 6 walks, but they have allowed 10 home runs from just the bullpen. The bullpen in the past 5 games. That is a 10.80 ERA from the relievers in this 5-game losing streak. Now, I'm not saying the starters have been good, but the starters' ERA has been an even 5 in those 5 games, which again is very bad, but a little better than their season ERA at times. And also, it's been the bullpen that's been letting them down. And of course, it's been the offense as well. And the third thing you need to know from this Orioles loss is that the Orioles offense just continues to be abysmal with runners in scoring position. And this was one of the worst ones of the season. The O's in the loss go 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position. They left 9 runners on base, which was their 3rd most of the season. Now, they did have their worst game in this spot. They were 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position in that extra innings loss to the Blue Jays back on April 13th. But at least in that game, the Orioles still scored 6 runs, even without getting a hit with runners in scoring position. Like, they blew a late lead. They had a good chance to win that game despite getting no hits. This one, they couldn't really score otherwise. I mean, one of the hits was an RBI double from Emmanuel Rivera that put the Orioles on the board. And the other one was a Gunnar Henderson single with Rivera on second, and Rivera gets thrown out at the plate on a great throw from Byron Buxton, so they don't even get a run despite getting that second hit with a runner in scoring position. And listen, I mean, the Orioles have just been, it's been an issue, and I've talked about it, right? Their ability to hit lefties is gone, and their ability to hit with runners in scoring position is gone. And it's tough to parse out what exactly is going on, because it's not like the Orioles offense in general has been great. At this point, they've been probably definitely a bottom half of the league, maybe even a bottom 10 offense in baseball, but they're essentially the worst offense in baseball when it comes to hitting with runners in scoring position. And that is the concerning part, because runners in scoring position should be fairly similar to what you do in any other sense. They are right now, heading into play Thursday. They were the third worst offense in baseball by WRC plus and the worst by batting average, hitting just 192 with runners in scoring position, dead last in Major League Baseball. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to allow you to score runs. And the interesting part is Heston Kjerstad had a long quote about it after the game. He had a couple of big strikeouts in huge spots where he did not come through on Thursday, after he actually did have a nice offensive night in the loss on Wednesday, after he's really been struggling lately. And he's talking about they're pressing too much. They're trying to do too much. They're trying to be the hero. Brandon Hyde's talking about that after the game. It's just like they need a mental reset in this clubhouse right now and in this dugout. It's the same approach. You guys are trying to hit the ball hard and hit it in the air and produce runs and do damage. That's what you do. Do the same thing with runners in scoring position, and yet they look like, and again, other situations they haven't been great, but the Orioles popped out 10 hits in this game. You should be able to score more than 2 runs in a game when you get 10 hits, but when you continuously, time and time again, are crumbling when it matters the most, it's not going to happen. And at this point, I mean, guys are struggling. That's certainly part of it. Guys are struggling in regular spots. Guys are struggling in high leverage spots. That's going to happen. When you're struggling, you struggle in all the spots. However, they legitimately look worse in every at-bat with a runner in scoring position. And to me, you shouldn't be changing much in those spots, but it seems like the Orioles, player to player, individually, internally, they are changing things. And that is what concerns me. Are the nerves getting to them? It's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. I mean, Cedric Mullins has been great with runners in scoring position. Ryan O'Hearn's been great. Now, they have been the 2 best Orioles hitters probably this year, so that makes sense. But the rest of the guys have not just been regular bad, they've all been horrendous in these spots. And it has to be mental, because they're not making mechanical changes in those spots. They're not really changing much about the approach when they go up there. They're trying to drive the ball. Something is going on in that clubhouse where guys are just not able to break out of these funks. And it's a longer conversation about what's going on, but get out of your own heads. Like, it's a game. It's supposed to be fun. I get, I talk about it 5 days a week like it's the end of the world, but it is a game. You got to bring it back to a game at some point. And just everybody needs a deep breath and to go to a rage room or something and get something out of them, because they are just all trying to completely put all the pressure on themselves. And it is just tough to watch. I mean, 4th inning kind of sent me over the edge. You get singles from your 8 and 9 hitters, who are Emmanuel Rivera and Maverick Handley. They start the 4th with back-to-back singles off Bailey Ober. You can't waste that. And then you go Gunner strikeout, Jackson ground into the double play to end the inning. And then the 5th, bat again. O'Hearn hit by pitch. Mountcastle double, makes 2nd and 3rd no outs to start the inning. Laureano pop out, Kjerstad strikeout, Mayo ground out, and you're done. No runs. It's just, I talked about it yesterday, but this team is just not fun to, it is hard to watch them try to play baseball right now. It's not just, hey, they're bad, they're getting unlucky, they're losing games. It is ugly to watch them right now. And it's not just the pitching anymore. This offense is kind of a disgrace at the moment. Now, I have much more confidence the offense will break out of it than the current state of the starting rotation, but like, just take a deep breath and be the same hitter you are all the time. Don't put all this pressure on yourself. It's a game. They're going to have to figure this out. Now, the 4th thing you need to know is Emmanuel Rivera, he might be doing it again. Remember last year when the Orioles had Arias and Westberg hurt? They were super injured. They bring in Rivera off waivers, and he has a 166 WRC plus and 73 plate appearances. Well, since the Orioles recalled him when Westberg and Arias went on the injured list, he is now 6 for 15. I mean, this guy is just hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting. That's all he's doing at the moment. He is going up there, and all he's done in an Oriole uniform is hit. And he's never really been a good hitter anywhere else, but that hasn't really mattered. He's now 6 for 15. That's a 400 batting average since being called up. He went 3 for 4 with 2 doubles in this game, had an RBI double to open the scoring for the Orioles. Remember, he had a 4-hit game for the O's last September, which was also in Minnesota. The only other time Rivera has had 2 doubles in a game in his entire career was August 11th of 2022 when he was with the Diamondbacks. This is not something he does very often. And you kind of feel like the O's are in a similar spot to where they were at the end of last year when both Westberg and Arias were on the injured list. They had both Kobe Mayo and Emmanuel Rivera on the team, and you wanted that to be Kobe Mayo's shot, but Mayo wasn't hitting at all, and Rivera was. So Rivera was getting the playing time because those games were important. The Orioles were in the playoff push in August and September, and Rivera was just producing better, so they put him in the lineup, and it was frustrating, but you understood it because it was like Mayo's doing nothing, and Rivera's doing everything at times. And it feels like it might be happening again. I am still on board with just giving Kobe Mayo these ABs, even when Westberg comes back, giving him ABs at first base. Let him try to get a runway of playing time here. I mean, he even did DH while Rivera started at third base on Thursday, so they got them both in the lineup while Mayo was sitting on Wednesday. But, I mean, you stink right now. You're not in a playoff chase like you were at the end of last year. You have more leeway when you're 10 games under 500. Just give the ABs to Mayo, but you have to credit Rivera. He's saying, look, you got to choose not to play me when I'm hitting once again. And here goes Emmanuel Rivera. Apparently the only place he's going to hit is in an Oriole uniform. It's kind of crazy to see. And the fifth and final thing you need to know from the Orioles' 5-2 loss to the Twins on Thursday that made it 5 L's in a row is that we did see 2 important hits from some Orioles. First was Kobe Mayo. He got his first hit of the season, a 109.3 mile per hour exit velocity single in the second inning, his first hard hit ball of the year and the hardest hit ball of his major league career. Also the first time in his career he had 2 hard hit balls. He also had a ground out that he hit well over 100 off the bat later in the game. So that's got to feel good for Kobe Mayo to get a knock. And more importantly, Maverick Handley, who has joined the Orioles as their backup catcher since Gary Sanchez went on the injured list last week. Handley getting the start the day game after a night game, Adley getting the full day off on Thursday, and Maverick Handley with that single in the 4th inning that we thought could start an Oriole rally and didn't, gets his first major league hit. 27-year-old preliminary 3rd and 4th catcher, just kind of stuck in AAA for so long, finally gets that first big league hit. Awesome moment for Maverick Handley. Really, really happy for that dude, and I'm sure the clubhouse was super happy for him as well, but that was kind of where the happiness ended as the Orioles lost again. Were swept by the Twins. They've lost 5 in a row. They're 10 games under 500. Things are bleak. Maybe some reinforcements coming in. The Orioles made a trade for some pitching on Wednesday night. They got Luis Castillo. Unfortunately, it's not that Luis Castillo. I'll tell you about Luis F. Castillo coming up next. But first, this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast is brought to you by Trade Coffee. Let's be real. Coffee isn't just a drink. It's a ritual, a lifeline, the thing that gets you from half asleep to fully functioning. And if it's that essential, why settle for anything less than amazing? Well, that's where Trade Coffee comes in. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S., delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're a cold brew fan or a pour-over purist, they've got a roast that you will love. And the coffee's fresh, it smells amazing, and honestly, it might ruin grocery store coffee and other brands for you in potentially the best way. And the best part is the prices, they're comparable to those grocery store brands, but the flavor is on a whole nother level. And right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's TRADE.com/lockedonmlb for 50% off your 1-month trial. Again, that is drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. And this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast is also brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Ultimate Pass with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed. And it's as easy as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. And with 4K streaming, it's not just gaming. You have endless entertainment. Watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and so much more. Fire TV gives me all the entertainment choices I want right at my fingertips. So head to amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube third generation. So the Orioles did add some starting pitching depth on Wednesday night after the game, and it is Luis Castillo. And as exciting as that sounds, it is not the veteran ace Luis Castillo who's on the Seattle Mariners. This is a different Luis Castillo, specifically Luis F. Castillo, who also comes over from the Seattle Mariners. Announced after Wednesday's game, the Orioles sent cash considerations to Seattle for Castillo. Castillo, who was DFA'd by the Mariners on Tuesday. Orioles jumping the waiver order, offering Seattle some cash to get Castillo. He does have options, so the O's did immediately option him to AAA Norfolk, but they put him on the 40-man roster to make room for him. They did DFA left-handed pitcher Walter Pennington, who the Orioles brought in off waivers from the Rangers about a week or so ago. Pennington, who has some interesting deceptive stuff, was in AAA and had a couple of appearances to begin his year. The results were terrible, but it's still an intriguing arm, so hopefully the O's can hold on to him as he was DFA'd. But who is Luis F. Castillo? Well, he is a 30-year-old right-handed starting pitcher from the Dominican Republic who signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks as an international free agent out of the DR back in 2012. He eventually made it all the way to AAA with the D-backs in the 2021 minor league season, but he elected free agency after the year. Now, he signed a minor league deal with the Detroit Tigers for 2022, and he was great in AAA. Posted a 1.74 ERA in 41 innings as a reliever that year, and the Tigers called him up. In August, he made his debut. He threw 3 2/3 scoreless innings over 3 relief appearances at the major league level, 2 hits, 4 Ks, and 2 walks for Detroit before going back to AAA. But the Tigers didn't want to hold on to him. They removed him from the 40-man roster that offseason, and he was a free agent once again. And he didn't get the deals he was wanting in Major League Baseball for the 2023 season. So Castillo decided to go to Japan. He signed a 1-year deal with the Chibalote Marines over in NPB, and he was pretty good. He had a 3.12 ERA, but some injury struggles, whatever. He only threw 49 innings, but he stayed in Japan, then signed a 1-year deal with the Oryx Buffaloes. That was the team Adam Jones played for over in NPB, and he was much better there in 2024. 15 starts, 94 1/3 innings. Castillo posted a 2.96 ERA last year in NPB. And he was working as a starter, something he hadn't done since like basically 2014 in rookie ball in Arizona. After that, they had moved him to mostly a reliever, but transitioned back to being a starting pitcher in Japan. And it was intriguing enough that he was able to come back to the States. In January, the Seattle Mariners signed him to a minor league deal with an invite to big league spring training. He did not make the team out of camp. He went to AAA. He made 1 AAA start, gave up a run over 5 2/3, and then Seattle had Logan Gilbert and George Kirby go down. They needed a starter, and they called up the other Luis Castillo. And funny enough, there was one point this year where the Mariners had a Luis Castillo start back-to-back games on the mound, which was pretty funny. But Luis F. Castillo, not quite the results that the other Luis Castillo generally gets. In his first start in San Francisco against the Giants, 3 runs on 6 hits over 3 innings with 2 Ks and 2 walks. Worked a little deeper in his next start at home against the Houston Astros, but similar results, 4 innings, 3 runs, 6 hits, 3 Ks, and he walked 5 batters in that one and then was sent back down to AAA. Now, since then, he had made 2 more really good starts in AAA, but then his last one was a disaster. Last start in AAA, 7 runs on 7 hits allowed in just 1 inning of work against the A's AAA affiliate, and the Mariners needed some space on their 40-man roster when they claimed Leody Taveras, so it was a Luis F. Castillo DFA to clear that room. Now, what does his stuff look like? Well, it's really a 4-pitch mix. He's got a 4-seam fastball, sits around 92 miles an hour. It's got a lot of arm side run, kind of moving horizontally towards third base, but doesn't have a lot of that ride and rising action. But it works because it's kind of an intriguing shape, not a shape you usually see from a 4-seam fastball, so that makes it deceptive to hitters. Also has a slider. This is his out pitch, 81 miles an hour. 4 of his 5 strikeouts in the big leagues this year came off the slider. It's got a 107 stuff plus. Like, it's got big time horizontal movement in the minors, the majors, Japan. This is his strikeout pitch. Then he has a sinker at 91. He uses that pitch simply to hunt ground balls, throws it to righties a lot. And then he does throw a changeup at 86, throws it most of the lefties. He threw it a lot more over in Japan last year, where it actually had a very elite 42% swing and miss rate on that changeup last year. He threw it to righties and lefties in Japan, but he's mostly just thrown it to lefties since coming back to the States. But he does have good vertical movement on it. And if you are watching here on the Locked On Orioles YouTube channel, this is Luis F. Castillo's stats. This is from the NPB Pitch Profiler. This is from his 2024 season in Japan. And you can see like really high ground ball rates, good ERAs. But when he was facing right-handed batters, he was one of the best pitchers in Japan last year against righties. Now, lefties tagged him. He had his struggles against lefties from time to time. But against righties, he was all over them, striking them out 26% of the time, walking them just 3% of the time. I mean, he has 60% ground ball rate against righties. He dominated right-handed hitters last year, and that is certainly nice to see. And again, with that sinker, he's a big ground ball pitcher. But I think the Orioles can turn him into more of a strikeout guy. He's got kind of a funky sidearm extended delivery that really hides the ball, provides some really interesting deception. And even though his fastball is, 91, 92, because of the way his arm kind of whips from behind his back at a sidearm angle, when he throws a high fastball, it just jumps all over hitters and can get strikeouts like that as well. So it's an intriguing mix. It's an approach you would see with a reliever, like all the funk he has, but he's able to work as a starter. And we know the Orioles need starting pitching depth right now. That's the last question. Like, how does he fit in with the Orioles? Well, he's going to AAA Norfolk, and he immediately becomes the number 1 healthy starting pitching depth option in Norfolk. Like, the Orioles are going to get Zach Eflin back this weekend. He'll join the rotation with Sugano and Kramer and Povich and Gibson. And then you'll still have Charlie Morton as your long man, as your next guy to start if you need him. But if you need to dip into AAA, the next guy right now is now Luis F. Castillo, because Brandon Young just went on the AAA injured list with some shoulder issues. And while Chase McDermott and Trevor Rogers are both pitching in AAA, they're not fully built up and 100% ready to go yet. So if the Orioles need a starter tomorrow, Castillo is probably the guy they would call on. So he is an important guy to go to, because he is that next line of defense right now in AAA. Like, I would bet money on it that Luis F. Castillo makes at least one start in the majors for the Baltimore Orioles this season. And we'll see if the Orioles can kind of, do the Albert Suarez, get a pitcher from over in Asia, already in his 30s, tweak some things and turn him into a pitcher that saves their pitching staff. Luis F. Castillo could absolutely be the 2025 version of Albert Suarez, because like all the other pitchers, the 2025 Albert Suarez is on the injured list for potentially the entirety of this season. And even if like Cade Povich keeps struggling, Castillo could even maybe take his rotation spot for a little bit as well. But we know the O's need all the help they can get. They just got swept. They've lost 5 in a row. But this weekend, they are playing one of the worst teams in baseball. That is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I will preview that series to finish off the show coming up next. But first, this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. And FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Now, I'm looking at FanDuel, looking at the NBA playoffs. Like, to be honest with you, it's been cool that the Knicks have beaten the Celtics for 2 games, but there is no way the Boston Celtics go down 3-0 to the New York Knicks. So I would be all over the Celtics in Game 3. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Just head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So we will finish things off on today's episode with a series preview. I talked about this being the easiest stretch of the season so far for the Orioles. Well, That does continue this weekend in Anaheim. It is the Orioles and the Angels. Now, as I record here about 9 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday, the Angels sit at 15-20. They do have one more game against the Toronto Blue Jays set to start in about a half hour or so. So they'll either be 16-20 or 15-21 when the 13-23 Orioles come to town on Friday night. And the Angels, they've already won the series against the Blue Jays. They won the first two games. They will be going for the sweep here in this one. I mean, the Blue Jays are kind of a disaster right now. The Angels have rallied late in both games against Jeff Hoffman, of all people, to win those games. So the Orioles aren't the only AL East team that's a disaster right now. Toronto is right in there as well. But the Angels, after kind of a hot start in the first week or two, they have just been a terrible baseball team since then. This Anaheim team had lost 8 of 9 games heading into this Toronto series before they won the first two. The Angels offense, this is coming into play on Thursday, ranked 26 in baseball with a team 85 WRC plus, 24th in runs scored this year. They have the lowest team offensive walk rate in baseball to go along with the second highest offensive strikeout rate in baseball. That is a terrible combination to have for your entire offense. They're 28th in batting average. They're 30th, dead last in on-base percentage. They are 12th in slugging percentage, so they can hit the ball out of the ballpark, which is the only way they really score runs. Zach Neto, their shortstop, Logan O'Hoppe, their catcher, they have both been awesome offensively. Otherwise, they're not getting a lot from the other guys. Mike Trout is on the injured list once again. They are kind of the same old Angels, and their bullpen has been the worst of it. A 7.01 bullpen ERA is 29th in baseball. Only the Nats have a worse bullpen this year, and their 5.35 bullpen FIP is worst in the league. Their 3.10 batting average against their bullpen is worst in the league. Ryan Zefirjan has a 3.86 ERA, and he's got great strikeout rates. He's been great, the right-hander out of the bullpen. Everyone else, including Kenley Jansen, who they signed to be their closer, is just kind of stunk this year. So hopefully the O's can get past their rotation, which is 20th in rotation ERA, get to this bullpen, rally the offense against some terrible pitchers, and kind of get this season back on track. And it starts with tonight's game. Remember, they're on the West Coast, so we got some late starts. 9:38 p.m. Eastern time on Masson here on Friday night for Game 1. Tomoyuki Sugano goes for the Orioles. He's been fantastic in his last 4 starts. 25 innings, 19 hits, 7 runs, 16 Ks to 3 walks. That's a 2.52 ERA in that stretch. It's going to be a matchup of veteran soft-tossing righties. The 35-year-old Sugano takes on the 35-year-old right-hander Kyle Hendricks, who is still out there kicking after signing a 1-year deal with the Angels this offseason. Hasn't been very good. He's got a 5.28 ERA in 6 starts this year, but he looked like vintage Kyle Hendricks the last time he pitched. He allowed just 1 run in 7 2/3 innings against the Tigers his last time out. It's going to be a lot of changeups, fastballs sitting 86 to 87 miles an hour. Just wait on it and hit it to the gaps, and you will have a fine time against Kyle Hendricks. Then on Saturday, it's another 9:38 p.m. Eastern time start on Masson. Kyle Gibson will go for the Orioles. He was better on Sunday than he was in his first start, so hopefully he is better again. And he will go up against the 24-year-old right-hander Jack Kachanowicz, who has also struggled, has a 5.79 ERA in 7 starts this year for the Angels. He throws 96 with a couple of good breaking balls, but he weirdly just doesn't really strike anyone out. A lot of balls get put in play against him, so hopefully they can find some holes for the Orioles. And then finally on Sunday, it is a 4:07 p.m. Eastern time start on Masson 2. The Orioles still have TBD listed, but Brandon Hyde said before Thursday's game that most likely Zach Eflin will return off the injured list and start the game on Sunday. He told us Wednesday that Eflin will come back this weekend. Thursday, he said it will probably be Sunday. Eflin, who is the Orioles' best starting pitcher, he's been on the injured list since April 8th with a lat strain. The Orioles' rotation has been a disaster since then. He was great in his first 3 starts before the injury. We talked about it on yesterday's episode. It would probably be a Matt Bowman DFA to give Eflin his spot. Unfortunately, not a Charlie Morton DFA. Well, Bowman was DFA'd a little bit early before Thursday's game as the Orioles recalled Colin Selby to just get an extra fresh arm in the bullpen. Bowman would have been gone anyway. He's kind of struggled lately. So Selby will be here for Friday and Saturday to give the Orioles an extra bullpen arm, and then he'll get optioned to AAA in favor of Eflin when Zach Eflin is activated off the IL to start on Sunday. And he'll go up against 35-year-old left-hander Tyler Anderson, who will get the start for the Angels. He's been great this year. 2.68 ERA in 7 starts. Anderson just kind of doing it again, throwing 89, but with a devastating changeup that flummoxes righties. He is the master of just getting soft contact, keeping himself in games, pitching deep into games. Soft tossing lefty who's been great. The Orioles have been terrible against lefties. That's not a great matchup Sunday. So win the first 2 games, then hopefully Zach Eflin can just outduel Anderson. You can win a low-scoring one and come out of there with a sweep. Because I got to be honest, like the Angels have looked a little bit better against the Blue Jays this week, but it's just been more Blue Jays meltdowns. The Angels have been bad. This is a really, really bad baseball team with really, really bad pitching. If the Orioles offense does not get it going and the O's don't at least win this series, at least win 2 out of 3, preferably sweep, but at least win 2 out of 3 this weekend, I might come back on Monday and declare this. If the O's lose the series or get swept, I might come back on Monday and declare this season over here in May. Like that would be the lowest of the lows to lose a series to this team with the state of their pitching right now. And the fact that you get in 2 out of 3 games, Sugano and then Eflin back, this should be the chance for the Orioles to right the ship. If they can't, we're having an even worse conversation on Monday. But either way, I will be back on Monday, recapping all 3 games from the series between the Orioles and the Angels. But until then, I'm Connor Newcomb, and this has been the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.